You may have promises that you've been standing on for a long time, dreams God has put in your heart. Every circumstance says it's never going to happen. What you're believing for is dead. It would have kicked by now. You would have seen some improvement, some growth. No, don't believe those lies. Keep sitting on that egg. Keep thanking God that it's coming. Keep talking like it's on the way. Keep expecting things to change in your favor. Our attitude should be, what God promised me may look dead, but I know, like that eagle, what He put in my spirit is still alive. It doesn't have to kick. I'm not moved by what I feel. I'm not moved by how long it's taking, by what's not working out. I know what God started in my life, He's going to finish. What am I saying? Quit being discouraged because you haven't felt a kick. Nothing is wrong. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen. You have to trust the process. While you're waiting, things are growing. Things are developing. God is bringing it together. He works in secret. You may not see any improvement. You may not see what God is up to. Some things have to develop in the dark, in secret. If you could see the promise coming, if God showed us what He was up to, yes, it wouldn't be as difficult to believe, but that wouldn't take any faith. You have to believe when there's no sign on the outside that what's on the inside is still alive. The promise God put in you. But there's something God has put in your DNA where you can believe when every circumstance says it's not going to happen. The odds may be against you today. Your dream seems impossible. The medical report's not improving. You've struggled with the addiction for years. Looks like the promise is dead. You're tempted to walk away from the nest, forget about the egg, hasn't seen any signs of life. Well, God is saying, go back and sit on it. It is still alive. Don't let the circumstances fool you. Just because you don't see anything happening on the outside doesn't mean something is not happening on the inside. But too often, we'll stay in faith if we see the wall cracking. We'll believe if our boss starts treating us better, if our health starts improving. We're waiting for the baby to kick. God, give me a sign. Show me something that you're going to turn this around. What I'm saying is you may not get a sign. That's when you have to dig down deep and say, am I going to get up off this egg? Am I going to let what I'm not seeing convince me what I'm believing for is dead? It's too late. The obstacle's too big. Or am I going to do like the Israelites and keep marching even though there is no sign? But when God puts a promise in your heart, you have to have a never say die attitude. You may not see how it can happen. It seems too late. You're too old. The obstacle's too big. You can come up with 1,000 reasons why it's not going to work out. Well, don't talk yourself out of it. Do like her. Keep thanking God that it's on the way. Keep believing when it's not improving, not moved by what's not changing, walking by faith and not by sight. Don't get discouraged because you haven't felt a kick. God is working. On the inside, what you can't see is the promise is growing. It's developing. The outside looks the same. You may not see any improvement, but if you will stay in faith, like with her, what God has spoken over you is on the way. You may have situations that look like they'll never work out. You don't see how you could get well, how you'll meet the right person, how you'll break the addiction. If you only consider that, you'll get discouraged and quit believing. You have to do like Abraham. Don't consider your circumstances, consider your God. God has some things in your future that have never happened. You're going to be the first one in your family to step into new levels of influence. The first one to run a successful business. The first one to break the addiction. Now, instead of considering how big your obstacles are, why don't you start considering how big your God is? He flung stars into space. He spoke worlds into existence. And what you're up against may seem impossible, but God can do the impossible. He can make things happen that we could never make happen. You can be the first. You can be the one to set a new standard. Don't be moved by what you don't see, by what you don't have, by who's against you. God being for you is more than the world being against you. Now, maybe you're about to step away from the nest. You know what God's promised you, but it seems impossible. Nothing's changing. Surely it would have happened by now. If you walk away, you're going to miss what God is about to do. You are closer than you think. When everything looks the same, the door will open. Your health will turn around. The right person will show up. You don't know what God is up to behind the scenes. I read where this mother eagle has to keep the temperature of the egg at 105 degrees. If she doesn't maintain that temperature, the eaglet won't develop. So she sits on the egg day after day. She could be out gathering food, building another nest, but she knows it's vital to keep the egg warm. In the same way, you have to keep your promise in a warm environment. The way you do this is through praise and thanksgiving. Sometimes our promise is taking longer to develop because we're complaining instead of praising. God, why is this taking so long? When is this ever going to change? No, you have to get your promise in a warm environment. You have to maintain the proper temperature for the promise to come to pass. I know many of you have been doing this. You've been faithful year after year, believing when you don't see anything changing. Get ready, your 35th day is coming.